some driver stuff kind of got lined up this past week. The interesting one, I think, a couple of interesting ones, Pete. First of all, Daniel Hemric's going to be in the 31 car running Cup next year for Kaulig Racing. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Chris Rice had been sort of teasing a lot of us, being coy about who was going to take that ride that we know Justin Haley's vacating. And I think it's good for Daniel. Daniel is one of those guys where we all know, he can be a successful driver. It didn't work out with him on the Cup side. And I think a lot of folks in the industry are happy he's getting another opportunity. And we'll see what he can do with that ride. It's going to be an interesting year, I think, for Kaulig going forward. I feel like, and Chris has told us this, as Matt Kaulig has when we've had him on our channel on SiriusXM, it's been a little bit of a plateau. They're looking to try to get to the next level. So we'll see if Daniel Hemric and another shot at the Cup Series can do that in 2024.
And they haven't really said anything about whether or not A.J. Allmendinger is going to stick in Cup for another year or go back to Xfinity.
They have not, and there are rumors that he'll go back to Xfinity, which, whatever AJ wants to do, that's going to make AJ happy, because I think a happy AJ is a better performing AJ. And I don't know that we've seen the brightness that we saw for him when he was just absolutely spanking the field in the Xfinity Series. But if he does move back down, watch out to that field, because AJ showed when he was in the Xfinity car or anytime really he's in the Xfinity car for Kaulig, that he's got talent that can't be ignored.
All right, well, the guy that picked up the win in Chicago, Shane van Gisbergen, is going to be back in NASCAR, driving for Trackhouse, Pete, in a variety of roles, which is really, I think, the right way to bring him into the sport. You just don't throw him into a Cup car full time.
Couldn't agree with you more. Throwing him into the deep end of the pool would have been a mistake. And Justin Marks, again, I can't say enough about what he has done since he's come into this sport as an owner. He calls himself a disruptor. He does things differently, and I think it's great. And bringing him in full time with some Cup, with some, it sounds like a pretty big part of the Xfinity program for him next year. Maybe some truck races. He even talked about some late model races, maybe in the Cars Tour or something like that. I think that's the best way to get him to be a well-rounded driver. And it sounds like the goal is by 25, from what we've heard over the weekend, bringing Zane Smith in now in this relationship they have with Spire Motorsports. Justin wants to be a 4-car team by 2025. Maybe that's the time by then. Shane is a full-time Cup Series driver. We'll see. But I like the plan they've got in place for him next year to get all sorts of NASCAR and stock car racing experience.
And I think, Kim, Shane seems to have the personality to be just a superstar if he can continue to win.
Yeah, he's such a bright spot in the garage, and rightfully so. He went out and he showed the field in Chicago what he can do. I'll be curious once he's, on more ovals in different series, if we see that same enthusiasm that we've seen from him so far. I would think so, just because it seems like that's his personality. But I am really curious what he's able to do throughout the other series on more oval tracks. I think it's going to be a wealth of experience if he does want to go full-time Cup racing for Trackhouse, at a later date. And so I think it's just going to make it that much more exciting for each of the races he's in these different series. And it brings international eyes to those series too. We talk about all the fans that tuned in to watch him race at Chicago and then watch him race at Indy Road Course. Now all those fans are going to be directed towards the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, the Cars Tour. And I think that's going to be outstanding just for general viewership of all the different offerings there are in stock car racing.
Now, Pete, you mentioned Zane Smith and the deal that Trackhouse has made with Spire for Zane Smith to come run Cup next year. The interesting part to me of this whole deal is Spire is buying a charter from Live Fresh, and the reported amount is $40 million. Well, ultimately, this is what the purpose of the charters is, to give value to these teams. The amount, if that's the actual amount, is just jaw-dropping.
Well, here's some breaking news. I've hired BJ McLeod to be my financial advisor.
The ROI is crazy.
Right, exactly. He took a charter that was worth, at the time, 4 or 5 years ago, $2 million, and it is now a $40 million charter. And here's my take on this. I know a lot of fans maybe don't like it. I think it's good. I think it shows health of the sport when the teams that are here on a week in and week out basis get that kind of tangible part of their team. Whereas we all have seen this before. Team goes out of business and they get pennies on the dollar for the equipment at their shop. I think that's a good thing. And here's the other part of this. We all know that the bottom line is something is worth only what someone's willing to pay for it, right? So if someone's willing to pay $40 million, I think that shows you that there is worth here to being a Cup Series owner, and I'll wonder where this goes. I mean, I've heard it could go as high as $50 million. And again, back to Justin Marks, he's going to need one of those charters if he wants to add a team or two. It sounds like he's willing to pay it. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for the health of the sport. I really do.
Kim?
Yep, absolutely agree. And there's rumblings on where that $40 million came from. Is Spire footing the entire bill? You know, we know Gamebridge is coming on. Are they, putting in some of that pot? But to Pete's point, it just shows the health of the charter system. And it makes us feel like a big league sport. We are I should say NASCAR. NASCAR is a professional sports league, and you see the value that franchises have in other major league sports. If we want to be in the talks with the NFL and the NBA and all these big major league sports, we need to have value on our teams. And I think this is a great example of, where's the ceiling right now? It seems like the sky is the limit, and I think it's great.